Hey, yo, what's going on? It's your man Louie T here on the LTN Exclusives kickback session for week number 9 in the National Football League. We have already kicked off week 10. Most of you have gotten the game correct. You should have. It was a lot closer than it needed to be, but nonetheless, the Denver Broncos got it done. So, we will knock this episode of the kickback session out really quickly and go about our business. Last week was an interesting week, to say the least, because there was a real opportunity for growth if you press the right buttons, but it was a tough week to press the right buttons. A lot of the losses that everyone accumulated were losses that you just didn't see coming. Nobody saw Carolina going into Green Bay last week and winning. Very few of us thought the Pittsburgh Steelers were going to beat the Indianapolis Colts. I was kicking myself, and I shouldn't be. This wasn't like I've been riding with the Steelers all season long. Picked them the weekend before against Green Bay at home. They let me down. Earlier in the season, I picked them in a big spot. They let me down. So I had just gotten tired of picking the Steelers off of blind faith. But something told me, I said, this feels, and I said, you know how Mike Tomlin every year manages to have a above 500 record? It's games like this right here against Indianapolis that you just don't see coming, that they somehow manage to force 17 turnovers and win. And it's why they end up in the postseason in January. Don't go very far, but they end up there every year because they win those games you just don't see coming. And that was one of those games. And I said, this feels like a Daniel Jones 2-3 interception game and the Colts lose in Pittsburgh. But I just, after the week prior where they let me down against Green Bay, I just didn't have it in me. And then they went and did the thing that I thought they could do. So that was frustrating. But, you know, just about everybody took that L. I was still high off of my own supply. You can't get high on your own supply. I was still high off the hopium last week with the Commanders, so I had to take an unnecessary L there. Trying to think. I think there was one more game that everybody kind of took a nosedive on. Let's just get to it and let's see. No need in me sitting here talking you to death. Let's see what we got. So, yeah, the Detroit game. No one had the Vikings beating the Detroit Lions. So that was another one. And then you had some games that could go either way. The Texans-Broncos game was a coin flip game. The Cincinnati-Chicago game was a coin flip game. And the Chiefs and Bills game was a coin flip game. And I ended up on the wrong end of all three of, well, 2 out of the 3 of those. I had Chicago in the Cincinnati-Chicago game. That easily could have gone the opposite way, even though Chicago dominated that game. The Texans led for probably 3/4 of that game on Sunday and then lost at the end. So, I think I said Broncos. The Texans led for 3/4 of that game and then blew it. So that hurt me. And then I had Kansas City, and they got dominated in that game against Buffalo. So easily could have been a 3 or 2 week loss week. And if you turned in one of those weeks, you would have made up some serious ground because no one had a stellar week. I was looking for that one person that went 11-3, 12-2. I knew somebody would do it. Nobody did it last week. Nobody did it last week. The best record last week was 10-4. That was it. 10-4. No one had a better mark than that. So shout out to Skins Win. He was 10-4, one of the, many people that went 10-4 last week. That was good enough to win the week 9 weekly pick'em pool. It came down to points because he was not the only person. As I mentioned, a lot of people had 10-4 records. He was one of about 3 or 4 people in this mix here that had 4 losses, but his points, I said one year, I said, I'm going to start doubling the amount of money. Take it out of my own pocket, double the money if you hit the points for Monday night on the head. I probably need to start doing that. I need to enact that one of these years. I need to just say, hey, and put it in the sheet when you're filling it out as a side note. Like, hey, if you hit the points on the head for Monday night, I'm gonna double your earnings, because to me that is a tremendous feat. I take pride in the points being, close or dead on. I've done it so many times in my career that I take pride in that, hitting the points right on the head, because so many people, like my dad, for instance, he just picks 43 every week, just about. Like, unless it's like two really bad teams or two really good teams, he doesn't really deviate. He don't even think of a score, right? He just picks a random ass number. Like, that's garbage to me. I can't lose to somebody who just randomly picks a number. I actually give thought to what I think the score is going to be. How many different ways can you get to that number, right? Hitting the game on its head the way that Skins Win did, 27-17, 44 points. That's beautiful. That is beautiful. So big ups to Skins Win. And sent you your earnings already. Congrats, my man. And I think that might be his second one of the year, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm jealous because I've only won once. I think I've only won once. I may have won twice. I feel like I've only won once. I need to win again. That's all I know. Whether I've won once or twice, I haven't won enough. That's what I'm telling you. I haven't won enough. So I just made a mistake. So let's correct said mistake. And all right. There we go. All right. So let's get to. So we had the rarity in week 9. We had the rarity of, let me make this smaller. We had the rarity of the pool could have been over. The survivor pool could have been over because everybody picked the Rams and one person picked Green Bay. Right? One participant picked Green Bay. And unfortunately for that person, it happened in reverse. Had the Rams lost and the Packers won, this thing would have been over and Jules would have won the whole thing. You're getting to that danger zone now where, one false step, you step on the wrong, you step on the landmine and kaboom, this thing's over. But it happened in the opposite. Jules was the only person eliminated and everyone else survives and moves on to week 10. So shout out to Jules for making it this far, but this is where your journey ends. Everyone else moves on. Kevin the PRF, Gats, Tyrant 78, Ricky D Hustle, Silver Villains, and RJ Mac Ready. So then there were 6. And remember what you're competing for, $1,280. So you guys are dangerously close to getting your hands on that money. Got to continue to make excellent picks. Congratulations to all of you who are still alive and surviving. Who will be the one to thrive? Not only survive, but thrive. One of these final 6 will be the one to survive. Or maybe, just maybe, none of you survive. And the house gets the money, which I am rooting for at this point. But we will see what happens. 6 of you remain. Continue to make excellent picks. Good luck. You are going to need it. Then we get to winners and losers from week number 9. So I'm going to be honest with you. I was being pretty lazy here because, I hate a lot of color. I can't stand when there's a ton of color. And there should have been a lot of color because, as I mentioned to you at the top of the show, nobody had less than 3 losses. So the PT peers, and there are a ton of you, were 10-4. So anybody that went 10-4, congratulations to you. You were among the best of week number 9. There were so many of you that I said, I'm not putting that color up there for all of these people. There's at least 20 of you who went 10-4 in week number 9. It's just too much color for me. I can't do it. It's not in my DNA. So shout out to anybody that went 10-4. You had the best week in week number 9. Pat yourself on the back. As for the other superlatives, or in the case of Smacky and RJ Reddy, the piss relatives, let's get to where everyone is. Let's go ahead and distribute the piss right now. Smacky and RJ Mac Reddy, please cometh forth to the front of the establishment and receive your, I was going to say reward, but I don't think anyone would classify piss as a reward. Come receive your punishment for having such horrendous picks in week number 9. Both, I think, if I'm not mistaken, had 9. If I'm not mistaken, 9 losses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 losses, yes. I just want to take this time to reiterate the importance of getting your picks in on time. Poor RJ Mac Reddy probably would have picked the Ravens if he would have gotten his picks in on time. I have no reason to believe that he wouldn't have. That would have given him 8 losses, and he would not be drinking piss today. Instead, he got his picks in late, and thus he suffers a similar fate to that of Smacky, who turned in all of his picks on time and just was awful. So just as a reminder, get your picks in on time. Don't be like RJ Mac Reddy and end up sipping piss because your picks were late. So Smacky, here you go, my guy. And RJ Mac Reddy, yep. I can tell you, I'm not going to be late with your piss. So here you go. And you guys go ahead, slide over there if you would for me, please. And we'll get back to the proceedings this evening. And while we're doing that, you know the routine. You guys go ahead and knock that piss back. So while they're doing that, let's take a look at week number 9's action. And we start with the leader in the clubhouse, Ricky D. Hustle. Let's go ahead and remove the border from last week because he is not the PTP this week, but he is still in first place, is Ricky D. Hustle. I believe he went 9-5 or 8-6. 1, 2, 3, 8-6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nope, 9-5. I had it right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9-5. So 9-5 keeps him just slightly in first place. So things have tightened up considerably. At one point, he had about a 3-game lead on the rest of the field. He's cooling off, if you want to call it that. Still out in front, though, at 96, 38, and 1. He is our leader in the clubhouse. You go to second place. That belongs to Kevin, the PRF, all by his lonesome with I think he went 10-4 this week. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. So a good bounce back week for Kevin, the PRF. 10-4, trims down the lead and puts him in sole possession of second place at 95, 39, and 1. So he is literally a game back of first place. And behind him is Mike Lowry, who went 10-4 himself, which puts him in sole possession of third place. So Mike Lowry is 94, 40, and 1. And so there's a 2-game gap between first and third. And there are a ton of people sitting there at, I think, 93 or 92 wins. So there isn't a ton of separation. Let me see if there are any. There's a 92 right there. I don't know if there's any 93s. There may be a 93 somewhere in here. I think there's one 93 somewhere in here. But I'm actually curious now to see. Is there a 93? There's a 91. There's a 92. There's another 91. Nope, no 93s, but there's a 92 and I think 191 and a bunch of 90s. Shout out to everyone who's in the 90s. You are absolutely killing it right now. 90 before week number 10 is pretty damn impressive. I may say so myself. So shout out to everyone who's hit the 90 win threshold before double-digit weeks. We're now in week number 10. You guys have put forth a very strong effort. I continue to be amazed at how good some of you have been picking winners over the last couple of years. You guys just, it's almost like professional sports, how players just get better and better with modern medicine and technology, and you know the way these guys train, it just gets better and better. That's how you guys are with these picks. You guys just get better and better every year. I got to step my shit up. That's essentially the lesson that I've learned is, you know, the shit that I used to come with back in the day when it wasn't that many people playing, and it used to be good enough for me to win, isn't good enough anymore. I gotta step my game up, man, because you guys are absolutely killing it. And the thing that's crazy is the consistency. I keep waiting for, all right, they're gonna F up this week. Yeah, this is the week they're gonna just stumble all over them, and it's just not happening. And I got to give credit where credit is due. You guys are really keeping your foot down on the gas pedal. So I'm just going to continue to fight as best as I can, but it's getting dark. It's getting dark, man. It's getting late early. We're into week 10 now, running out of time. If you're going to make a move, it feels like this is the week. If you're going to make a move, this is the week to do it. Don't think that this is necessarily a hard week, though. Don't see a lot of losses being piled up here. So you just got to find ways within the margins to try to make a move. And it's just been tough because you guys have continued to be really consistent with your selections, I must say. So shout out to everyone who's already at 90 wins. There are not a ton of you who have already done that, but we'll shout out the few of you who are. Sunday has 90 wins. Obviously, the leader in the clubhouse, Ricky D. Hustle, has 90 wins. Shout out to Mike Jink, who this is like his best season ever. He's killing it this year. 91 wins for him. As we talked about already, Mike Lowry with 94 wins and sole possession of third place. Here we got Soul with 90 wins. So shout out to Soul. We got 92 wins here for Big B. He was just in third place last week, so he fell off a little bit, but he's still having a tremendous year at 92, 42, and 1. Here's a 91 winner right here in Triple A Dell. You know, absolutely killing it this season. At 90 wins, AJ Meehan finds himself right in the mix. Same could be said for Energy Mac and Cheese at 90, 44, and 1. Another 94, 90, 44, and 1 in Gats, who was up there in first place and hanging around the top 3 for much of the early portion of the season. And then, of course, Kevin the PRF, sole possession of second place at 95 wins thus far. So you guys have been outstanding. Those of you who have already hit the 90 win threshold through 9 weeks, that is an average of 10 weeks. Again, 10 wins a week. That's why it's so impressive, right? 10 wins per week is outstanding. That's double digits. And remember, it might be easy to get 10 wins the first 4 weeks when no one has a bye. It gets a lot tougher to average that number once it's down to 13 games. And we've had 2 weeks or so where there were only 13 games, 14 games. We've had, multiple weeks where there's 15 games, but to keep that pace of averaging 10 or more wins per week, then effing-tastic. So shout out to all of you for continuing to be super consistent. And once again, shout out to everyone who went 10-4 this week. You were a PTPer, the best of the best. Winners and losers in week number 9 in the National Football League. So let's get to a word from one of our sponsors. We'll come back on the other side, and then we will get to the Piss Cuppies, and we'll get to the comment section if there's anything there. If not, we'll skedaddle. Sleeper. Sleeper is the best way to experience and connect over sports together. It's a one-stop shop for all your sports needs. You can celebrate and chat on games in real time with other users, get the fastest scores, blazing fast news and alerts right at your fingertips, play in fantasy leagues, and win real money on pick contests. So enjoy sports the way they were meant to, together. Download the #1 sports app today. Predict the hottest football stats like passing yards, receiving yards, touchdowns, interceptions, and much more to cash in on your daily fantasy football skills. Use promo code LTN and Sleeper will match your first deposit up to $100. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. Currently operational in over 25 states. Check out Sleeper today. Sleeper. All right, so we are back, and we're going to take a quick gander at what Smacky and RJ Mac Ready have going on over there. How's it coming, fellas? All right. Smacky about halfway done. RJ. Look, man, I knew you were going to do this. He's upset because of the Thursday loss. Look, man, I don't have anything to do with that. I always urge you guys to get your picks in on time, that this could be avoided. You shouldn't be over there. Look, first of all, no one feels sorry for you. Even without the Thursday night pick that you didn't make, you still had 8 losses, bro. You had an awful week. So no one wants to hear your sob story about getting your picks in late. Get them in on time, and then you don't have to deal with this type of tomfoolery. But you did what you did. Now you got piss mustache. Please continue to drink. Thank you. And sorry. But that's how it's got to be. Anyway, I digress. So there aren't any comments. So there's not really much more for us to discuss here. I will say that we're coming up on, well, I just want to say this. The Marshawn Nealon situation, really tragic stuff. And I'm going to take this time and I'm going to make sure I continue to say this. I've said this before to you guys in the past. Mental health is a real thing. Please, please, please take care of yourselves and take care of those you love. There are so many people out there struggling with mental health. And if you see the signs, make sure that you provide as much help as humanly possible. But more importantly, take care of yourself. You can't take care of someone else if you aren't taking care of yourself. Love yourself, right? And find ways to avoid toxic situations or any toxicity that may be in your life, that may exist in your life. Try to remove it. You know, I always tell people social media is not a real place. Do not immerse yourself in social media. It is not a real place and is not filled with real people. All right. These are made up fictional characters. People create facades to be something that they never have been a day in their lives. And so don't get caught up in bullshit on social media. Social media equals bad mental health. If you intake too much of social media, you're going to find yourself being in a dark place. So please, please, please take care of yourself. And prayers up to the Nealon family and anyone who knew him, who called or considered him a friend. It's a tough situation. You hate to see people go through that. And rest in paradise, King. So with that said, let's get another check real quick on the 2 pissies. All right, Smacky, you damn near done, bro. Go ahead and just knock back that little corner you got. RJ, bro, you're killing me, Smalls. What's going on here, man? Come on. Not, it's too much talking, not enough. Too much complaining, not enough drinking, bro. Let's go. You're holding me up. I got things to do. Let's get out. Let's get this thing going so we can get out of here. Yeah, come on. All right. So Sheree says, do you think next week's Chiefs-Broncos game could decide the division in the end? Every game in the division is a big one. Next week's game is much bigger for Kansas City than it is Denver. Denver right now, I won't say is in the driver's seat necessarily, but they have the best record in the division. So they can afford to lose a game if, that happens and still bounce back. Kansas City already having lost to the Chargers, which Denver has as well, but having already lost to the Chargers with a 5-4 record, they're not in a position to drop, that game in particular. So it's a little bit different for Kansas City than it is Denver. Denver could lose that game, drop to 8-3, be fine. They got the Chiefs in the final game of the season. Don't know if that'll be for, anything significant or not, but they could always circle back, win that game and be fine, or just keep winning games and keep Kansas City at bay and, end up winning the division, even if they don't win a single game versus Kansas City this season. So ultimately, it's a big game, but it's a lot bigger of a game for the Chiefs. Now, I will say if you're Denver and you want to put Kansas City out of their misery, like no one wants to see if you're in that division, I don't have a dog in the fight, but if you're in that division, you don't want Kansas City anywhere near the playoffs. Because if they get in, as they showed 2 years ago, they can go on the road, right? They went to Buffalo, then to Baltimore, and won, the AFC yet again. And then ultimately went to the Super Bowl, and if I'm not mistaken, won that as well against San Francisco. So they're fully capable of going on the road. They've shown us that. So you really just don't want them anywhere near the playoffs. So could that game decide the division? I don't know about that because both teams aren't in the same space, right? Denver's in a much better space from a record perspective. Kansas City really can't afford to lose another game in the division based off of where their record is right now. Hell, they really can't afford another conference loss, if we're being honest. So they really need to win this game. They lost to Jacksonville, they lost to Buffalo, and they lost to the Chargers. So they've already got 3 conference losses of the 4, and with the other loss being in Philadelphia. You lose another game in the conference, and you're in trouble. You're on the struggle bus. So it's a big game for Kansas City more so than Denver. Of course, it's a big game for Denver just off the strength of who Kansas City has been, what they represent, and what it could mean for what Denver is trying to do, which is win the division. But it's a much bigger game for Kansas City. So anyway, I digress. Sheree says, I could see Kansas City's offense putting up 27 plus. Denver can be passed on. They can be, especially if Patrick Surtain II isn't back. But, Riley Moss has been a flag merchant. I think they pick on him, maybe racial profiling. I don't know. But ultimately, that secondary is solid. But you can throw the football, but you got to be able to protect. You got to be able to protect. But it's family business. So if there's one team that, I shouldn't say that. The Chiefs are vulnerable, especially in the division. The Broncos, you could argue, should have swept the Chiefs last year. Had that game and the block kick preserved the victory for Kansas City. They should have won that game last year. Obviously, we know what happened in week 18 when Kansas City didn't. Kansas City threw that game. They didn't just not need it. They threw that game because they knew if they won, Cincinnati would get in, and that's the one team they didn't want in the postseason. So they just threw that game. Anyway. All right, Smacky, you're all done, man. Good job. Yeah, go ahead and hand that to me, bro. All right, RJ, you don't have much left, man. Keep going. Keep going. Anyway, I digress. No surgery for JD5. Prayer works, ladies and gentlemen. It's a big effing deal. We were told, and I told anybody that would listen, I think it's a lot worse. It looked a lot worse than it really was. I'm just glad that that was confirmed today. No surgery needed, no ligament damage, no broken bones. Just needs time to heal. That's the most favorable outcome. It's the best outcome we could have hoped for. I still don't love the idea of him coming back and playing this season, but clearly that's still on the table. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on Commanders Nightly News. So, all right, RJ, come on, man. You gotta knock that cornerback. Let's go. You're killing me, Smalls. Yep. Now, yeah, right now. Come on. Yep. I know the feeling. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It burns, doesn't it? Yeah. I've been there, bro. I got empathy now. I most certainly do. I couldn't before. I just would laugh but now I know how it feels. I don't envy you. All right, thank you. Get your damn picks in on time, then you won't have to worry about that shit. Anyway, that's gonna do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the Week 9 edition of the Kickback Session. I look forward to chopping it up with you guys next time. Until then, I'm your man Louie T, signing off. You guys have a good one. Take care. Enjoy your weekend. Take care of yourselves. Take care of your mental health. Take care of others. Till then, peace.